being raised outside of Lebanon until the age of 8. So when we moved back, my dad was really keen on showing me the country I come from. And my dad was an outdoorsy person. When he was younger, he used to lead on scouts team. So for me to be back at my own country and being in a place like Lebanon that offers lots of environments of the 4 seasons. We have snow in the winter, waterfalls and streams in the summer, lots of cedar forests and access to a beach, all within a very small country. My dad was very keen on showing me that. So when I was a bit older, he used to take me out and my family out for camping trips in different locations in Lebanon, and showing me what it is to be outdoors and connect and bond and have food and barbecue and good times as a family in the outdoors. And then eventually, when he found that I'm interested in that, he signed me up for Scouts as well. But it wasn't too long until I was a little bit older and I got into my teenage years, and I lost interest in the outdoors and got caught up in the modern city life, doing what teenagers do, hanging around the city, basketball here in school. And it was a time where I lost touch with the outdoors. And then university came in, and then I signed up for a few hiking trips with some friends, and then I remembered that feeling to be out and about and roaming freely in the beautiful outdoors that we have in Lebanon. And then at some point, I got caught up again making a living after graduation until I moved on to Dubai. For the first few months in Dubai, it was amazing getting to know the city. And I felt though it was a lot of repetition and a lot of routine, and working in an advertising agency, I needed to find something that would revive my soul and help me connect with something that would revive my spirit. So I did some research, and I found a couple of groups who do outdoor trips here in UAE and Oman, and I signed up. And being there and being introduced to a whole different environment that I'm not used to made me fall in love with rock formation, made me fall in love with finding water pools in the middle of rocky mountains, and being based in a desert land made me wonder, like, how did this even exist? And then I did a little bit more research, and then I came to find out there's much more places to explore. So I started going on about on my own, just looking over different places to explore, and then going on and exploring it, and then calling, and I started to post about it on Facebook, and I started to post about it on my Instagram, and I started to get a lot of interest from different people saying, where is this place and how's it going? And I didn't even imagine we would have water here in Dubai. So I felt this interest from people not knowing what there is here in this country, and there's so much to offer. So I got into starting my own adventure blog, where I started to join different clubs and talk about the different activities they do, exploring on my own, seeing different scenes in Oman, which is a few hours away from Dubai, or Ras Al Khaimah, which has the highest Rocky Mountains here and the highest mountain in the UAE. And then sooner than later, this blog started to get a lot of interest. And so it became a little bit more of an outdoor club. And then through the outdoor club, people started to enjoy the lifestyle that I offered within the outdoor club. And the way I used to do some cooking, and the way I used to guide unprofessionally, just as a group leader, saying, this is where I came across this waterfall, this is where I came across this pool. And then sooner than later, people started telling me, we'll pitch in for money, and then you take care of the food and supplies and the logistics, and we'll just follow. And I started doing that, and then I came to fall in love with this new habit or new lifestyle. What started as a interest soon became a passion, and sooner or later it became an obsession. So this became something that I want to do for a full time. Like, I started to go back to the office, and I became unhappy behind the desk, and all I could think about was, what am I gonna do next weekend, and what's other places to explore, and what activities there is. And I started giving people phone calls. I saw your photo doing this. Where can I find that? And then it started to grow faster and faster until I was suffocating behind a desk, and it affected my day job, because once you lose interest, and find interest in something else, your mind starts to, wander on its own. You're trying to work on a presentation for a client, and then you take a minute to think, and then all of a sudden you're on Google looking for different outdoor products. You're looking for new activities in different areas, and your boss walks in and is like, I was just doing minor research. And then, at some point, I was lucky to be in an advertising company that believes in following dreams. So they said, think about it seriously, and if this is something you want to do, why don't you do it right? And I took their advice really seriously, and I set up a challenge to myself, and I signed up for Kilimanjaro, and it was a big deal for me. Because I wasn't a professional guide back then. I was just a regular guy who enjoys being in the outdoors and has a day job to make a living out of. But I wasn't happy. So Kilimanjaro for me was a metaphor for the challenge I would have to face if I do end up uh, um, leaving behind the corporate life and moving on to set up my own thing where I would make a living out of something that I really enjoy, but would be very difficult to establish. I knew there was many challenges. So for me, climbing Kilimanjaro was more than just climbing a mountain. For me, climbing Kilimanjaro was overseeing and challenge myself through the obstacles that I would face in real life. So if I made it through Kili, I would be able to face the challenge that would come towards me after leaving my corporate life. And that was it. That's what happened, and that's how it all started. And I did Kili, and it was a very, very emotional moment for me reaching out the summit. And I cried like a little baby, not because of my fitness, although back then I was not really fit. I was just a regular guy who enjoyed going around, but because I felt like I have overcome the first obstacle, and I can always go back to that feeling every time I would run into a challenge establishing this outdoor agency, which is now 1 year old and growing by the day. So that's how Adventurati Outdoors came to life.